Hey, guys, welcome to the Golden Goal Show. I'm your host, Al, the other half of the Vince and Al podcast channel. And if you are listening to this, I hope you have or will have a great day. This is episode 3 of the Golden Goal Show. Man, is time flying. I like to start off every show with a question, so let me know your answer down below in the comment section or in the discussion tab of this YouTube channel page, or even email it to us at vincenalpodcast@gmail.com. That is Vince as in Vince, not with an and sign, but with an N-L-A-L at gmail.com. Also, speaking of which, with the Vince and Al podcast, we are now having we have an official, not an official, but we have an Instagram page. So if you also want to go check it out, the title of our Instagram page is down below in the comment section. So let me hit you up with the question. And this is a question, yes, I'm a Browns fan, but it impacts basically the entire NFL fan base, and if not, the entire sports world. Here's my question. Will the Cleveland Browns be going 0-16 this season, or with the final 2 games remaining, will they somehow find themselves getting a win? I will be talking about that more later on in the show. So bear with me, stay tuned to hear what I have to say about it later on in the show. But make sure you guys let us know. Now, regarding the subscribe button, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Before you do that, go check out our channel. Go listen to some of our podcasts. Listen to previous episodes, shows of my Golden Goal Show, or listen to the other part of this channel, Vince's show, which is Faith from Silence. He covers a lot of movies. He just did a review on the Last Jedi movie, which he wasn't too fond of. So go check that out. And if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button. You like the content of this show, hit that like button. And you don't have to comment regarding my question. You can comment about anything and everything. It could be about what I talked about in this show. It could be about completely different, anything else. We just like to interact with you guys, because once you start interacting with us, you guys are all part of the family. So let's start off with how I start off every show. I will be starting off with the NBA Power Rankings, and then I will be giving my feedback. So I'm going to read the top 10 and then give my feedback. What also I like to do is also read the last 2 to kind of compare and contrast what the top franchises are doing right and what the bottom 2 franchises are doing wrong. So the number 1 spot, and this is from ESPN, both my NFL and NBA Power Rankings are by ESPN. Number 1, we have the Houston Rockets. Number 2, we have the Golden State Warriors. Number 3, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 4, the Boston Celtics. Number 5, the San Antonio Spurs. Number 6, the Toronto Raptors. Number 7, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Number 8, the Portland Trailblazers, Number 9, the Washington Wizards. And at the number 10 spot, the Denver Nuggets. Now let's read you the last 2 teams. Pause this video, take a quick guess. Okay, welcome back. At the number 29 spot, the Memphis Grizzlies. Wow. Memphis Grizzlies all the way at the 29th spot, and the Atlanta Hawks at the 30th spot with a 6-23 record. Wow. They're going into rebuild mode. Let's now talk about these top 10 rankings. Houston Rockets, their previous ranking, number 1 last week. The week that has happened, they went 4-0. They are currently on a 14-game winning streak, and the very impressive thing is that Chris Paul, when he has been in the starting lineup, the Houston Rockets have been undefeated. I at first was not a major fan of this Chris Paul, James Harden team up, but they are wow. They are taking the league by storm. They're playing some great basketball. They have a lot of great role players. Let's see what they do before the trade deadline. If they can maybe add one more piece, this team are legitimate NBA title contenders. Yeah, that's right. I can see them winning it over the Warriors, even winning it over my Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 2 spot, the Warriors, still at the number. Still last week, their previous ranking was number 2. But no Stephen Curry. But Kevin Durant is leading the Warriors like he should be. They've been undefeated this past 2 weeks. This upcoming week, they have the Lakers coming up, which actually has already happened. Kobe Bryant's retirement night. I also talk about that. Then they have Memphis, that bad team. Then the Lakers again, Denver. And then, guys, it's coming up Christmas Day. The Cleveland Cavaliers play the Golden State Warriors. I will be giving you my 2 cents about that in next week's episode, so stay tuned. Number 3 spot, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are climbing. Previous ranking was number 5. This previous week, they went 4-0. They only have Milwaukee, Chicago, and Golden State now to focus on instead of the Warriors having 5, so that could be an advantage for the Cavs. The Cavaliers have won their past 19 of 20 games. That is so impressive. So impressive to win the last 19 of 20 games. Great run. And once more, guys, they don't have Isaiah Thomas yet. And Tristan Thompson is starting to come back. He's still not 100%. And once more, regarding the trade deadline, can the Cavaliers do anything about it? We'll see. They always do something. It could be minor, but they always do something right before the trade deadline. Number 4 spot, the Boston Celtics last week were number 3. They were number 1 for the first couple weeks. What happened? Well, they kind of ran out of energy, which is fine, and that was predictable because, honestly, the Boston Celtics have a great team, and even without Gordon Hayward, they're going to give a fight. They are much more prepared than last season against the Cavaliers. They could even push the Cavs to 7. But at the end of the day, when you have LeBron James on your team, yeah, you're going to win the game. You're going to win the series, at least in the Eastern Conference. When it's the NBA Finals, it's a completely different story if you have seen LeBron James' record, which should not impact his GOAT talk. I'll leave it at that. But the Boston Celtics at the number 4 spot, led by Kyrie Irving, once more putting a MVP caliber season. San Antonio Spurs, Kawhi Leonard is back, the Claw is back, and they actually had the San Antonio Spurs at the number 2 spot, but I think it was just because of the Kawhi Leonard hype that he was coming back from injury. Now that they're seeing him mixing in with the team, the Spurs, we'll see how they do in these playoffs. I think they'll be a good team. They'll push a team like the Rockets, a team like the Warriors, maybe to 6 games, but they're not really a threat to either the Rockets or the Warriors. They will make it a great series, but not really a threat. The Raptors are quietly, I would personally say, here in the top 10. They have a 20-8 record. Like I said, they've been very, very, very silent, but they're playing very efficiently. They added the 3-ball to their game. That was something that they missed, and maybe they could even give teams such as the Cavaliers, teams such as the Celtics, a run for their money in the Eastern Conference. The Minnesota Timberwolves are starting to live up to their hype behind head coach Tom Thibodeau, and also with obviously Andrew Wiggins, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Jimmy Butler. That combination seems as if it is working in comparison to the Oklahoma City Thunder mess. I don't know what is going on there, but that is just a complete mess. Someone has to go. Whether it be Paul George or Carmelo Anthony. Someone will have to go. Preferably go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Anyway, the Wolves are sitting at a 17-13 record. The issue with the Wolves, though, is that even though they're young, Tom Thibodeau is pushing and expecting a lot of things out of his young players, giving them some very high minutes to play for. Number 8, the Portland Trailblazers, a very high climber. They were last week at the number 14 spot. Here they are sitting at the 8th spot. Last week, they put up 3 wins, 1 loss. They have to play Minnesota, San Antonio, Denver, and Los Angeles Lakers, that is, in this next week. They lead the league in defensive efficiency and opponent field goal percentage on the road. I like how they have separate stats whether you're on the road or at home. And they've also limited their opponents from the perimeter. Yes, I'm reading. And they're allowing the fewest threes. That could be something that's very important and very crucial when we get into the postseason, where teams such as the Rockets and the Warriors depend heavily on the three-point line. So maybe the Blazers could give them a run for their money. Then the Washington Wizards put up a 2-2 record last week. Their starting lineup of John Wall, Bradley Beal, Kelly Oubre, Otto Porter, and Marcin Gortat, they're outscoring opponents by 21.8 points per 100 possessions. Yes, and once more, I am reading. But these young guys such as Kelly Oubre and Otto Porter are starting to... The investment that the Wizards made in these guys are starting to pay off, as Kelly Oubre and Otto Porter, they're starting to play some pretty good basketball, and they're starting to become legitimate pieces to this Wizards puzzle. And then at the number 10 spot, the Denver Nuggets, who, once more, are following the game plan of having young stars develop with Jokic, Gary Harris, who put up 36 points against the Boston Celtics. He actually outscored Kyrie Irving. We'll see what the Denver Nuggets have to do. Last week, they were also the number 10 spot. They put up a 2-1 record. They have OKC, Minnesota, Portland, and Golden State this next week. So a very hard stretch. Let's see how Denver fares out. As far as any news regarding the NBA, Kobe Bryant just had his not just one jersey, but 2 jerseys retired in a ceremony last night at the Staples Center. He had numbers 8 and 24 hung up. Maybe another thing that you guys can answer me. What number was better, number 24 or number 8 as Kobe Bryant? You look at their accolades with both numbers. I think Kobe had 3 championships with number 8, 2 with number 24, about the same amount of points. But kind of different styles of play, whereas the number 8 Kobe Bryant, number 8 Kobe Bryant was a little bit more athletic and would blow by defenders, whereas the number 24 was a lethal killer. He had the Mamba mentality. He was a little older, a little slower, but he still was able to burn his opponents by hitting very clutch shots. My personal opinion, the number 24 Kobe Bryant was greater than the number 8 Kobe Bryant. And that is all because that's where Mamba mentality all came from. That's where players such as Kyrie Irving and Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Isaiah Thomas, etc., take as motivation. That Mamba mentality, having that killer mentality, that ability to take over games and have no regard for human life. That's what the number 24 Kobe is all about. The greater impact it had and maybe even the better stats. Let's go right over to the NFL power rankings. The same thing applies to how the NBA. I'll read you the top 10 and the bottom 2, compare and contrast, and then give you my feedback. Number 1 spots. Ready for it. The New England Patriots, who started at number 1 and then throughout the season dropped, and now here they are back at the number 1 spot. Last week they were at number 2. Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers. The Philadelphia Eagles. Must be something about that Keystone State, Pennsylvania. Minnesota Vikings. Los Angeles Rams. Number 6, Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 7, the New Orleans Saints. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers. Number 9, the Atlanta Falcons. And at the number 10 spot, they're starting to rise back up, the Kansas City Chiefs. Bottom 2 teams now. The Indianapolis Colts at 3-11, and the Cleveland Browns with an impressive 0-14 record. Let's go Brownies. Man, I don't want to talk about the Browns right now, but let's start off. And number 1 spot and the number 2 spot, the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The first thing is, was that a catch? Was Jesse James's catch thrown by Ben Roethlisberger a touchdown? Did he actually drop the ball? Listen, I'm not much of a Steelers fan. I was watching the game. The area where I am currently residing in, there's a lot of Steelers fans. And I still think it was a drop. Because when he came down, he lost possession. I don't know how the rule is. I know once you're down, you're down. But he did lose possession of the ball. And when he came down, the ball even touched the ground. Yes, a lot of people are arguing about it. And maybe, yes, the officials once more came to the saving of Tom Brady, who I do think has some correlations, some relationships with the inner workings of the NFL. There is a little something sketch about that with Tom Brady, and I wouldn't be surprised 5 years after he retires, someone uncovers something about Tom Brady that may damage his legacy. But as of right now, nothing really. But yes, they came to maybe the saving Tom Brady after they called it a drop. Ben Roethlisberger throws an interception in the end zone, causing the New England Patriots to win it. In Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. So I don't really know the Philadelphia Eagles, guys. I think this is so impressive. Nick Foles, I said this in last episode. I said this in last show. Will he be back to Nick Foles' ways? Guys, he threw 4 touchdowns for, I think, 300 yards against the New York Giants. Yes, maybe not the best team, but they put together a great game, and Nick Foles put up a tremendous stat line. I would even blame it more on the Eagles' defense than on the offense. Yes, Carson Wentz is the quarterback of the future, but Nick Foles could lead this team very far in the postseason. I'm actually excited for that. Minnesota Vikings at the number 4 spot. They're playing pretty well behind Casey Keenum. out of all people. Casey Keenum, just a great team all around for the Vikings. They have an 11-3 record. The Rams, another team that's kind of taken by storm. I'm going to say it. The Los Angeles Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really wasn't expecting them to be here as late as we are in the season at the number 5 and number 6 spot. Also, guys, the last time the Jacksonville Jaguars made the playoffs was in 2007. That was a decade ago. As far as the Browns, we're still waiting on that one. Rams have a 10-4 record. Jaguars have a 10-4 record. Blake Bortles used to be a laughingstock of the NFL. He's putting together a pretty good darn season, guys. He's putting in a pretty good season. And the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is really what's keeping this team in. But they've had some impressive wins. They had a high-scoring game against the Seattle Seahawks, who just got blown out by the Rams. And then the next week, the Jaguars go out and blow out the Texans, who aren't that good, but they still blow out a football team. Jacksonville Jaguars are pretty dominant. The Saints, well, Pro Bowl number 11. Probably is coming along the way for Drew Brees. He's having yet another Drew Brees-esque season. Not Super Bowl champions, I don't think, this year, nor for a pretty good amount of time. But they're putting together a pretty good darn season behind rookie Alvin Kamara. I should have picked him up in fantasy, but I didn't. That was a mistake. Carolina Panthers looks like they're bouncing back from a pretty disappointing season that they had last year. Christian McCaffrey, really wasn't a fan. I didn't know how he's going to do. He's faring pretty well here in the NFL. Panthers still need to figure out a couple more things with him, as well as with Curtis Samuel, former Ohio State Buckeye. But Cam Newton, once more, is playing like Cam Newton old self. He's on my fantasy team. He's putting up some monster stats. The Falcons, once more, kind of dropped down, but they're back right up. They're climbing. Their win this week blew a devastating loss to the Packers, basically ruining their chances of making the playoffs. And with that, obviously, if you read the title regarding the Packers making the playoffs, Aaron Rodgers has been put back on the injured reserve, ending his season. He has 13 screws, guys. He has 13 screws in the shoulder. I don't really think he was in the best shape to play, but he wanted his team to make the playoffs. But with the loss to the Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons win, the Packers are calling it a day. They're going to let Rodgers rest, not risking him getting even further injured, damaging what they can possibly do next season, and letting Brett Hundley, the rookie, continue to develop. And he's been doing a pretty decent job. See, that kind of shows me if you put a good team and then you put a quarterback, if you embrace a quarterback with a good team, he can do some good things. That's what the Cleveland Browns have to do, and I think they're working on it. Kansas City Chiefs, they dropped here. They were at the number 13 spot last week. Here they're back at the number 10 spot. They were 6-6 at one point. And they actually were 6-2 at, I think. Went 6-6, lost 4 straight, but here they're back at 8-6, and they are in control of their destiny. Actually, they're in the playoff picture, which is very good. They're big players such as Kareem Hunt, and he's on my team. What is his name? Oh my gosh. The wide receiver, number 10, Tyreek Hill, I think. Yes, Tyreek Hill and Alex Smith. They're putting in work. Kareem Hunt was dropping. He's back. As far as the Colts and the Browns, guys, the Browns. Now that the Texans continue to lose with their loss to Deshaun Watson, the Browns have the first overall pick and projected 5th overall pick. What can GM John Dorsey do about this? We don't know. But regarding the Browns, I asked this question earlier in this show. Once more, if you've made it this far, holy crap, hit that like button. You are amazing. If not, totally chill. I might just be talking to myself. Let me know if you're still at this point. That would mean the world to me. But regarding the questions that you guys answered, will the Browns go in 16? Browns got their one win last season on Christmas Eve, and we are looking at another situation where the Browns can do it again, avoid 0-16, and avoid another humiliating season as already has been for Hugh Jackson, and not just for the Browns organization, but the entire city of Cleveland, and maybe even possibly the entire state of Ohio. They're playing against the Chicago Bears, who are favorites, but every time they have been favorites, they have lost. They've not done very good at home. They're playing with Mitchell Trubisky, who has had a pretty decent, solid season. He could be a very good quarterback in future years, but the Browns could take advantage of it. Let's just come in with as much energy as possible, Browns. I could see a Christmas miracle for the Cleveland Browns. Can it happen? I don't know. If not, they don't win this week. It's basically a guaranteed 0-16 season. If you haven't heard already, a Cleveland Browns fan has gotten a permit from the city of Cleveland to do a parade around First Energy Stadium, which is the stadium of the Cleveland Browns, to do a winless parade, and they will lap one time around and then have like a tailgate and celebrate the embarrassment of what is the Cleveland Browns. I touched base on that. One more thing, I have it in my title. Will Curry own Newton? That meaning, will Stephen Curry own Cam Newton? Yes. Kind of a clickbait. Not really at all. If you guys haven't heard, owner Jerry Richardson of the Carolina Panthers will be putting up his team, obviously the Carolina Panthers, up for sale. He only owns 48% of the organization, but he is the predominant owner. There are perks with purchasing the percentage that he owns. P. Diddy, I think that's what he wants to go by, or just Diddy, tweeted out he wants to be the first African American owner in NFL history. Can he make it happen? Well, he says, will anyone want to join? Stephen Curry retweets, sign me up. And Colin Kaepernick, bro, you're not even in the NFL. I don't even know how much. You cannot afford to own a football team, Colin. But whatever. Neither can you, Diddy. And even though, Curry, you've signed a $200+ million deal, you can't even own it. They are talking about making a ownership group to make a bid to purchase the Panthers. And with as much speculation, as much media attention, I think they would grant that ownership. But could Curry be playing in the NBA and own an NFL franchise? I know LeBron James owns part of Liverpool FC. You probably don't even know what Liverpool FC is, but that's what LeBron James is, because he is a businessman. I like how I tie in everything with Cleveland. But regardless of that, I don't know if it's going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of support. Maybe P. Diddy can become a part of an ownership group. I don't think it will be Stephen Curry and Colin Kaepernick joining in on the front. Maybe some predominant African-American business owners that will come together and purchase the Panthers. I would like to see the first African-American owned NFL. I think we can use some major stepping stones, some major milestones in whatever we do, whether that be the first African-American president or the first owner, etc., etc. But without much further ado, guys, that's really all I have to say about this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, commenting down below. It means the world to me, and I know it means the world to Vince. I'm just so excited about the way this channel is heading into. Vince and I hit the 1,000 view milestone, as small as that sounds. Those small goals, those small milestones are all that matters if you want to build up your brand, and in our case, want to build up our YouTube channel. So once more, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Share it with anybody and comment down below. And next time I will hear you next time on episode 4 of the Golden Goal Show next Tuesday, and you will also be hearing from me next Thursday, or this coming Thursday, for episode 4 of the Vincenal Podcast. See you guys.